Tinnitus?
Or tinnitus?
No.
Never. No. Sorry. That's weird.
That's it?
What is it anyways?
Ringing in the air.
Oh,
No.
never heard of it. Sorry. I was in the Navy and I used pneumatic tools a lot. Do you remember some of the spaces they used to put us into? I don't know if you're familiar with the ships.
Sound exposure from my bands.
1995, November 29th at 2:30 in the morning. I'll never forget that.
I got some damage to my ears based on several years of playing in rock bands.
I was a locomotive engineer for 35 years.
And because I come from a dysfunctional family, I wasn't the best sailor, and so consequently all my extra duty was with pneumatic tools.
My normal workday, I teach 5 performing ensembles consisting of a symphony orchestra, symphony band.
And the equipment is extremely loud.
I was very multidisciplinary, or anti-disciplinary rather.
And when you're in the cab of a locomotive engineer, the decibels of sound is almost unbearable.
Any normal week for me would include playing a rock concert in New York City with my band.
When I got tinnitus, I was in a very, very dysfunctional relationship. It was very stressful, and I believe that I got tinnitus right around that time to maybe give me a wake-up call.
A pop rock band, a 22-piece big band, and marching band.
Rehearsal with the concert band at my university.
When they peak at different levels, of course. The orchestra peaks around 85 decibels, the loudest in the marching band, and we've pushed 114, 115 before.
Going to a club on the weekends.
I clean boilers and I chip the paint off the sides of the ship.
I spent the next year and a half searching doctors, different doctors and dentists, TMJ, you name it, to find out why I had this.
I've been an outdoors person all my life, and in the fall of, I think it was November of 1984, I was standing in a bass stream in northern Pennsylvania in the Allegheny River, absolutely quiet except for the sounds of nature.
During that time back in the 70s, they had very little help whatsoever that you could put in your ears, even if you did try to stuff something in there.
And normally when I would get up off the river, the sounds of the river would stay in the river. But this night I come up off the river, and when I walked into the motorhome, the sounds followed me into the motorhome. And I asked my wife, I said,
Don't you hear that ringing in my ears?
Well, see, when Gloria and I
No.
first got married,
What's the matter, Brayshaw? And I'd say, well, my ears are ringing. And they'd say, well, go, take a few minutes and take 10, 20 minutes, but I want you back here because we got to get the work done. And they thought just by leaving the place we were working at and taking a walk and getting away from it would solve it.
I went a fairly long length of time between bouts of tinnitus from 1983 to 2000, but then 2000, a day on the field with my drum line pretty much did me in. Took about 2.5 years to remediate. One, ready, and.
It allowed me to run a support group to help other people, and that's something that I've been wanting to do all my life.
The dizziness was so bad that I didn't even know where I was. I began to wonder even where I was sitting. It took about 15 minutes and got back home, and my ears were screaming loud.
I blasted the car stereo pretty much all the way from New York to Los Angeles and back with the windows open. And I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
And then last January this year, my jazz band was in a very small room, and I had left my earplugs back at home, and I was stuck.
I've been with guys out in the field that have been shooting rifles and stuff, and after you would come off the rifle range, that have temporary ringing. So I just thought there was something that was going to go away.
I remember right after that trip, I was lying in bed for the first time hearing this like weird ringing sound, like I had heard after, going to like a Black Sabbath concert or something like I did in high school.
Tried nursing, but I was too sensitive for that field, but just helping other people. And so because of my tinnitus now, I'm allowed to give back and help other people.
That was before the time of the internet, and being able to find information. Finding information tinnitus was almost impossible back then for the layman.
The only difference was that this time it didn't go away, and I just thought that was kind of weird. And I talked to a couple of teachers of mine who I figured might have had similar problems when they were growing up.
Here it came. Here it came.
I was doing what my impulses and my passions kind of dictated, and it was an amazing journey.
The music demands at certain points that it get loud, and then I'm sowing the seeds of my own destruction by asking the band to crescendo to a fortissimo.
Nobody really knows what we have. Just have it. You can go in and do all the explaining you want. They don't know what you're talking about. They'll just give you a med, or they'll say, "Oh, you have a sinus infection."
The first doctor that I saw, I remember he just like rubbed his hands in my ear and he's like, "Can you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're fine, don't worry about it, go home."
I'd like to ask that medical professional, does he have tinnitus or does she have it? And have you tried all this stuff?
I don't think I would be alive today if I hadn't switched doctors. The initial doctor that I went to, he didn't look at my chart. He didn't do any hearing tests. He told me that I probably got it from shooting guns in the desert, which I always protect my ears, by the way. Go home and live with it. There's nothing I can do. Now, I had an acoustic neuroma. It would have killed me.
I'm told, learn to live with it. And then I want some answers as it goes on. I want more answers. And I don't see the medical profession giving enough time to this.
I'd get rid of that doctor in a minute. Well, as I did when I first started on this mission. I spent $3,000 in a year and a half on doctors trying to find my answers.
I went to a hypnotist. I went to a regular ENT. I even went to the surgeon, asked him just to cut the nerve in my ear, just anything to stop it. And he said, "Well, I cut the nerve in your ear, then you'll be deaf and have tinnitus."
It's something that can be fixed, and leave the door open. Don't close it.
It can at least be controlled.
Yeah, or controlled so you have a good quality life. Yes.
When I was sleeping, I couldn't lay on my right side. I got the bump. Must be is that a motorcycle?